You see, none of this right here is helping Al Sharpton nor the Democratic Party because, as you can clearly see, Al Sharpton is still running with the lie that black men are the reason that Stacey Abrams lost the election. And as long as the Democrats are going to keep running with this lie that every time a Democrat loses, it's black men's fault, then they can expect to continue to lose actual support of black men, let alone the black population as a whole. It is impossible to conquer a people without allies that are willing to sell out their people for their own personal gain. And Al Sharpton is one of those sellouts who truly cares nothing about black America as long as he has a comfortable position within this illegitimate system of governance. His job is and always has been to keep black Americans blindly voting blue no matter who and getting them to accept symbolic nonsense as their reward as opposed to receiving concrete transformative legislation. But it appears that Al may be having a little trouble corralling the black vote for the upcoming 2024 presidential election. And now he's sounding the alarm to the Democratic Party, letting them know, hey, you guys got to give me a little something more to work with because it looks like some of these black folks aren't buying what you're selling anymore. The Reverend Al Sharpton warned Democratic leaders that they must step up the party's appeal to African American voters or risk Donald Trump or other Republican leaders making greater inroads with the black electorate in the run-up to the 2024 presidential election. Speaking to The Guardian from the Harlem headquarters of the civil rights group National Action Network in New York City, Sharpton, 68, said that Trump's small but notable support in 2020 among voters in certain minority demographics should set off alarm bells for Democratic strategists. As incremental as it was, Trump and the Republicans made some increase among black male voters, he said. We didn't see that coming. We need to really be very careful not to ignore that. Black voters were critical to Joe Biden's success in 2020, both in securing the Democratic nomination and in his victory in the November general election. Partly in recognition of such support, the president is proposing that South Carolina, a state with a majority black Democrat electorate, should be promoted to having the first nominating contest in the 2024 primary elections. Typical symbolic garbage. But I digressed. Exit polls from the 2020 presidential contest suggested that Trump increased his support among black men by 6 points over his 2016 performance. That increase was recorded despite Trump's hostile stance towards minority groups during his term in the White House, including the travel ban on immigration from Muslim-majority countries. Now, with all of the ills that need correcting in black America, how is a travel ban on Muslim-majority countries one of them? I'll leave that for you to answer in the comment section. Attacks on prominent black leaders. What prominent black leaders are they talking about? There are no prominent black leaders. That is a thing of the past that does not exist anymore. And flirtation with white supremacist organizations. Brothers and sisters, the biggest white supremacist organization in the country is the United States government. You know, if this article was meant to convince me to vote Democrat, it is doing a very horrible job at it. Sharpton commented in 2019 that Trump had particular venom for people of color. More detailed studies in 2020 voting patterns by the Pew Research Center and AP Votecast found the increase in Trump supporters among black voters to be less pronounced, rising from 6% of the black vote in 2016 to just 8% in 2020. The shift was much more marked among Hispanic Americans, with Trump's share of the disparity electorate increase from 28% to 38% over 4 years. And that right there is why the black vote is still critical for the moment. With Hispanics voting red the way that they do, the Democrats still need the black vote to help offset Hispanics voting Republican. Sharpton said that his own conversations led him to believe that a small slice of the black electorate remain amenable to Trump's politics, and that should be an issue for Democratic Party leaders. When I go around nationally, people might say that they are a little more conservative. especially black men, he said. Some of Trump's appeal could be put down to misogyny, Sharpton suggested. I get it on my radio show. A black woman appointed Supreme Court justice? A black vice president? What about black men? Sharpton said he also perceived some disconnect, for example, between black male voters in Georgia and the gubernatorial candidacy of Stacey Abrams, the Democratic challenger who lost in this year's midterms to incumbent Republican Governor Brian Kemp. Weeks before the November election, there was reportedly concern within Abrams' camp that her support among black men had softened since she previously ran against Kemp, narrowly losing in 2018. You see, none of this right here is helping Al Sharpton nor the Democratic Party because, as you can clearly see, Al Sharpton is still running with the lie that black men are the reason that Stacey Abrams lost the election. And as long as the Democrats are going to keep running with this lie that every time a Democrat loses, it's black men's fault, then they can expect to continue to lose actual support of black men, let alone the black population as a whole. Anti-immigrant sentiment, whipped up by Trump's false narrative that migrants entering across the southern border were taking jobs away from Americans, including African Americans, was also a factor, Sharpton believes. It is a 100% irrefutable fact that illegal immigration hurts black Americans. That has been proven already time and time again. As part of his justification for building a barrier along vast stretches of the U.S.-Mexico border, Trump frequently talked about black and Hispanic people in the U.S. being the hardest hit from uncontrolled illegal immigration, driving down jobs and wages. Pay attention now, because they just admitted how Trump frequently talked about how illegal immigration hurts black Americans. But take a look at what Sharpton is doing to offset this fact. Sharpton said, that's one of the reasons I've been to the Texas border to stand with the migrants. It's misinformation. People have got to hear other arguments saying, no, this is not true. Now really take in what I just read. Al Sharpton just openly admitted that he goes down to the border to speak with illegal immigrants for the purposes of telling them not to worry about the findings that illegal immigration hurts black America because those findings are lies and they're not true. That's what Al Sharpton openly admitted that he's doing. He's going to the border and telling them, don't worry about the blacks complaining because all that stuff is a bunch of lies anyways. Sharpton, now an MSNBC host, urged Democratic leaders to focus more directly on the concerns of black voters. They are doing better, but they're not doing what's best. I want to see them do even more. The party must show not how smart it is, but how committed it is. Trump and Sharpton, both eminent New Yorkers who grew up in the outer boroughs, have long crossed paths. They used to regard each other as friends, Sharpton flying on Trump's helicopter and Trump headlining at National Action Network events. But after Trump formally switched from business to politics, they became opponents. Now, if this last paragraph that I just read doesn't prove how fake and phony Al Sharpton is, I don't know what will. But outside of that, if Al is that concerned about the black vote, then it appears that we're on the right track, because that means that we're waking our people up to the lies of the Democratic Party. And with all that being said, that does it for today's video. So please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. All social media links will be pinned in the comment section below. And also, please make sure you text tdhiphop to number 33222. That's tdhiphop to number 33222. That way you'll get a text notification whenever I release a new video, but it also serves as an insurance plan for myself. So in case YouTube ever gives me the axe, I'll be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. And last but certainly not least, for those of you who have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel, the number one way you can show your support is through Patreon. For only $3 a month, that will help put me in position to take TD Hip Hop Media off of YouTube. Remember, the goal is not to grow big on YouTube, but to grow independent of YouTube. And for those of you who have issues with joining Patreon, you can also hit the join button that's next to the subscribe button, and that way you can become an official channel member for as little as $3 a month as well. And lastly, if you haven't already, please make sure you join the emailing list. There is no way that I can go independent of YouTube if I cannot take the audience with me. And the link to that will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time, and until the next video, peace.